And right now, without further ado, we're going to be joined by head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by AA Best Bell Bonds, head coach Mike McCarthy. How you doing this morning, coach?
Doing well. Good morning, gentlemen. How's it going?
Man, we're good. Coach Rob is out. It's just Rudy and my man Pledger sitting in for you. How was your week this week, coach? Going into, you coming off of a great win versus the Giants, who, when it's the Cowboys, coach, and I'm not good at not just speaking my mind. People don't want to give credit for the Giants win, yet the Giants held, the Commanders to 7 points, held Buffalo to 14 points. But when y'all destroy them, well, it's just the Giants.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm not sure you asked me. You asked me how my week was, but then are we talking about the week?
I'm just saying. How was your week coming off that great win?
Oh no, it was good. Actually, just meeting with Dak last night. We're talking how fast a week went, and I think it's really reflects this time of year, especially just the way our schedule sorts out here with these 3 games in 12 days or whatever it is. But it's been a quick week. I think the biggest thing is felt good Sunday. Obviously, winning always feels great, and a win like that against a division opponent, it feels even better. But the reality of what we're trying to accomplish is, that's really what Monday's for, is to clean it up. But I thought the men came in here Wednesday ready to go, and we're on to Carolina. There's a little bit of an uncommon opponent here. They've had some changes, in their staff and personnel. Their whole team as far as when we played them a couple of years ago. So just really focus in on going to get this win. And, we need some road game wins, and we got some tough road games coming up, and starting with this one. So just really focus on getting the 7th win and winning on the road.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the fact that there's changes going on in Carolina. I wanted to ask you about preparing for a team that's going through that kind of issue where middle of the week, you're coming into a completely different play caller than what has been there the previous few weeks, even though Frank Wright had called plays at one point this season. Over the last several weeks, he had not. So going back to that, is there something that you have to do differently in preparing for a change in play callers like that?
I think the biggest thing is just recognize, who you're playing, what their strengths are. I mean, it's still football, and it's always important to be on top of your P's and Q's on Sunday afternoon, because it really doesn't matter who you play or where you play them. This league is so competitive, and that's the reality of it. As I look at their team, they're a little bit of a wounded animal because they've had some adversity, and I think when people encounter adversity in this business, they strike back hard. So we're going over there to take care of business, get the 7th win, and we understand going through, and we're kind of have a little bit of expect the unexpected mindset going into this.
You said you talked with Dak, coach, and I know Dak has the Kobe tattoos. I know he's a big Kobe guy, and I remember Kobe talking to Alabama, and he said excellence is a habit, and he prepared for the Sacramento Kings the same way he prepared for the Boston Celtics. Do you get that same mentality from, because there's only so much you can do as the coach, do you get that same excellence as a habit in preparation from your leaders in that locker room?
Oh, definitely. And I think you can start with Dak. When you look at the way he prepares, I mean, you can't really tell who you're playing
Exactly.
each week, because when he crosses the white lines, I mean, just his practice habits are impeccable, always have been. And I think just like anything, as you continue to build that consistency of those habits, it's infectious, particularly with your young players, because your young players really don't know. They think they know, in regards to where they came from or how successful they were in college. It's still an adjustment. This is professional sports. It's the NFL, and it's the best of the best. And so the practice habits are. I mean, I learned this, just particularly in my experience in Green Bay. Your best player is going to be your best practice players, and that's something that I've been so fortunate to have with the quarterback position. Whether it's Rich Gannon, Brett Favre, I've Montana do it. Aaron Rodgers was the exact same way. These guys love the practice. I mean, they're so competitive at practice, and it just lifts your whole practice environment up. And it's something you have to have it, and it's something that you have to make sure you stay on top of, because it has the ability to bring so many other guys with them.
Joined by head coach Mike McCarthy, brought to you by AA Best Bell Bonds. Coach, since the bye week, your shift motion rate, y'all are ranked 8th right now. Before the bye, you were 14th. Is this going like how you planned it, or is just you kind of spoon feeding it until you're finally gotten your offensive line healthy? Because you're doing a lot more motion now since the bye week. Talk a bit about that. Is that how you planned it to go, or is it just were you waiting on the offensive line to get fully healthy?
Well, no, we have a shift in motion plan, that goes in every week, and just sometimes the way the games go, and
Mm.
it relative how much you use it. But the biggest thing is who you're playing against. There's no doubt about it, because it's such a stress on defense. I mean, Dan Quinn tells me all the time what a stress the shifts and motions are, and the tempo of substitution, and all the things that are important. But the way we break it down is, it's all about winning the pre-snap, and
Mm.
I think the thing that I've always focused on is there's really three ways to try to really challenge the defense in a pre-snap. One is playing with high tempo, getting to the line of scrimmage as fast as possible, making them press their calls, make their play entry be challenged. The second one would be using multiple personnel utilization in and out of different personnel groups, make them play the chess match of get on their call sheet, getting in and out of it. And the third one is shifts in motion. So those are really the three approaches that we try to make part of our game planning process. And how much you use one of the three, a lot of it has to do with who you're playing and how you think they'll react to it.
Coach, as we're talking about the offense and Dak, the play recently has just kicked into another gear. And outside of the motion, is this just the offense that at the beginning of the year you told us when you took over play calling that this was probably going to be a work in progress? It was going to take 5 or 6 weeks to kind of get it going. Is this the fruits of everything that you were talking about early in the season?
I think the biggest thing, if I recall the beginning of the season, is I just felt our defense was further ahead of us coming out of the defense was further ahead of the offense coming out of training camp, and that was just my honest opinion, and whether I stated it publicly or not, but that's just I think that's where we were.
Right.
But I think we're our offensive line didn't really practice together at all in training camp, so I think that a big part of our success is the continuity in the play style, in the performance of our offensive line in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and that's something that doesn't show up on the shifts and motions chart or the pass completion chart. But our offensive line has a lot to do with what's going on with our offense right now.
Coach, is it a flow as far as your carry distribution with Rico and Tony? Is it a flow, or do you predetermine? Because like this past week, it was 12 to 15. Is it just like the feel of how the game is going, or do you come in with the plan like, hey, I want to be at this number with TP, I want to be at this number with Rico?
Well, it's definitely a flow. I mean, we have playtime projection for all three phases. I mean, we have a coordinators meeting that we do Friday afternoon. Once we feel like we have a pretty good idea who the 48, 49 are going to be, because we want to try to do our dress rehearsal on Saturday. So we have a pretty good idea of how the playtime projections is going to go. But things change during the course of the game, and you have to adjust. So yes, I mean, but it has to flow, and I think that number one, Tony is the primary
Right.
focal point for us as a running back. But I think that the best compliment I could give Rico is, when he goes in, I don't have to blink. Everything on the call sheet is alive, and that's what you want when you rotate your role players in, and that's important. And Rico's done an excellent job with his opportunities.
You talk a little bit about, we spend a lot of time talking offense, but on the defense side of the ball, you've lost LVE for the season. You lost Trayvon Diggs for the season. But in all honesty, again, from our lens, Coach, it doesn't seem like y'all missed a beat. But when you sit down with DQ and y'all are watching the film, are you seeing anything where you kind of miss a beat? Not even trying to be disrespectful to LVE or Diggs, but from sitting here, it looks like y'all haven't missed a beat defensively without LVE or Diggs.
Well, I think it's a real compliment to our defense, our players, Dan Quinn, and the whole staff. I mean, I think it just, that you have to build this thing for the long run, and I think you're seeing young players step up. So that's definitely the case. But I mean, there's so many little things that both Trayvon in late and bring to the table. So I
Right.
mean, it's good that it's not noticeable, but you're talking about two excellent football players that are a big part of our plans going into the season, training camp, and coming into the regular season. So yeah, those guys are definitely missed without a doubt. But it's like anything in this game. The injuries are part of it, and it's really injuries create an opportunity for others. And I think our guys have really done a hell of a job stepping up.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Last one for me, coach, and is this just much to do about nothing, or is there something there? Because I look at a number and it's 12-5, 12-5. You're 6-3 this year. There is obviously lots of success, but the success rate on grass over the last couple of years is 2-8. That's just a very odd, kind of out of whack statistic. Is there something to that, or something that you prepare differently, or is that just kind of the way those games have unfolded and it's just happens to be that they're on grass?
I love the fact you brought it up because it's a nice little nugget to always hit your team with, just to poke them a little bit. But I think the obvious is, we play on grass only when we go to an away stadium, so that's part of it. We practice on grass every single day, so I wouldn't say that it's a problem, as far as, but my understanding is Carolina went to turf.
They did go. They just recently switched back to turf. They did,
Yeah.
coach.
So that's definitely something. No, I love playing on grass, but I think it's more of a product of just playing on the road, and this is a big game for us because we got to do we got to be really successful on the road from this final stretch, and it starts in Carolina getting the 7th win.
Well, coach, good luck to y'all. I know you got a tough game coming up on the road, then you got a short week turnaround. So happy Thanksgiving, happy belated birthday, and all that other good stuff. Wish y'all well. Good luck, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thanks, Rudy. Take care.